Okay, look, before we do begin this week's SmackDown Ups and Downs, Roman, I got you a present. So I check out the camera to get it. Look, I got you your very own Simon Miller WhatCulture Ups and Downs head of the table chair. I put a lot of time into it. Look, it's leather, it smells good, and my friend, it is yours. I put a lot of thought into that, and that's because Roman Reigns each and every week gets a little bit crazier and it gets a little bit crazier to the point that every time I sit my ass down, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this is Roman Reigns' chair? Which is why I got him one. So if he ever does turn up, I can just hurl it in his direction and I'm running the other way. But it is Saturday, so we do now have to go through another episode of SmackDown. And look, they have been on fire recently, so have they been able to keep this momentum up? We shall find out. And if you're wondering, yes, my t-shirt size is baby. Let's up those downs. Oh boy, like I say, have we just ticked off Roman Reigns, because he was out here to open this week's SmackDown, and all the events of 7 days ago, where he basically got screwed over by Kevin Owens and Adam Pearce, well, they have not left him a happy pup. Also, Adam Pearce, my own flesh and blood, he turned me down when I said that I wanted to enter the Royal Rumble this week. It was a very sad moment for the family. So yeah, the tribal chief was angry because now everyone's saying that a couple of idiots got one over him, and he definitely doesn't appreciate them using an injury angle to try and get this over, because during the pandemic, Roman had the respect and Roman had the foresight to remove himself from WWE to try and take care of his family, and now you got these ragamuffins taking advantage. During that time, I'm sure that he did build himself a nice new chair, you know what he's like. And then he had the line on the evening when he said, well, you know what? I'm in pain too, mostly in my back, because I've been carrying the damn company ever since I arrived. Roman Reigns is so good. Quick side note too, sometimes I get really mad that WWE didn't allow Roman to do this after he had defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, can you imagine? Sometimes it keeps me up at night. That's not true. Adam then came out on the stage to try and calm this down, and Roman just got a harpoon gun and went pfft, and he shot him right through the skull. Now, clearly that didn't happen, but I bet for a split second you believed it. Reigns was just enraged by this, though, and made it very clear he now understands why Adam Pearce never made it to WWE. And I was like, Roman, he has made it to WWE. I mean, maybe not in the guise of the wrestler, but he's still got that. I mean, you literally looking at him. Then I tiptoed backwards and I was like, oh, Roman Reigns, I love you. Because again, I like being alive. Our would-be general manager then completely forgot how this whole situation works, because Paul Heyman started to laugh about all of this, and while he's happy to take squit from Roman, he's not taking it from Paul Heyman, so he got in his face. And of course we had the domino effect. Adam, why didn't you remember the domino effect? Because you have now disrespected Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns now thinks you're disrespecting him, and everybody got really scared. Basically, if you ever meet Reigns, what you have to do is just smile and nod. No matter what he says, you just go, yes, sir, Mr. Reigns. Yes, sir, Mr. Reigns. Unless he says, would you like to sit in this chair? And then like we've already established, you just get the hell out of Dodge. I mean, throw yourself out of a window if you have to, but the long and the short of it is that we've booked our main event, and it is going to be Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. So get out your notepads and write that in the segment that says things I never thought I'd see happening in 2021. This was all top draw though, and I think over the last couple of weeks, Mr. Pearce has also raised his game. He has fit into this storyline like a glove. I truly think it is phenomenal stuff. So obviously, this is getting it up. Then out came crazy Sami Zayn. I mean, my word, he losing his mind too, because he is still filming his conspiracy documentary, and to try and get as much footage as he could, and I suppose to kind of do some kind of protest, he handcuffed himself to the barricade. He also did a lot of ranting and raving about the Intercontinental title and Big E and Apollo Crews. And really, if we're going to sum it up, can you ever remember a time WWE gave Sami Zayn something to do and he didn't knock it out of the park? He is an underrated gem. Now, he then got interrupted by Asuka, and I almost exploded into 1,000 pieces, but then thankfully I remembered she is one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, so she's allowed to be on whatever show she wants. From nowhere too, it was also her and Charlotte taking on the Riott Squad, who of course had Billie Kay in their corner. Actually, it was quite fun. Up. Natalya and Tamina, and remember, nobody is meaner, were watching on a big screen backstage, and of course we're watching at the strangest angle you've ever seen anybody watching a TV in your life, and I just have so much sympathy for Billie Kay. All she wants to do is bring some love into this world, although I don't really understand why Ruby and Liv did allow her to come out for this match, given what she did last week. And she kind of did that here too as well, because she kept jumping on the apron trying to cause a distraction, But when she did that one time too many, Ruby Riott actually had the match won after the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. But because Billie had the ref's attention, nobody saw. This then allowed Charlotte Flair to hit the natural selection. 1, 2, 3. The tag team belts remain where they were. So now you've got to assume we're going to have some kind of war between the Riott Squad and Billie Kay, because she has not done them any favours. And very sadly, even though this segment was really good, we have to bring down the distraction board because, of course, this was a distraction finish. We mark it up to 14. 14. We are easily going to smash through 100 by the time we get to the summer, and I think that sums up my point. You know what we have to do? Down. Billie was in Bix backstage afterwards, and she was desperate to apologise to Liv and Ruby, and then used her magical powers that she had just gotten from nowhere to put them in the Royal Rumble. But sadly, they didn't want to hear any of it, and they sent her away and said, "You're not going to be in the Riott Squad." Now, I don't know if this was intentional, but Billie Kay has now become the biggest babyface in the world, and I want her to rise to the top and win all the titles. That's just what happened. I think she's great. Daniel Bryan was then here, and he's also the best. Up. Now, this was all designed to make you think that he is going to win the Royal Rumble, because despite all of his achievements within the WWE, he's never done that, and I would say he's certainly a front runner. But then, because this is an episode of World Wrestling Entertainment Programming, he got interrupted here by Cesaro. Now, he wanted to make it clear that he should win the Royal Rumble, especially because he speaks 5 languages, but doubly so because last week on SmackDown, he beat Daniel Bryan, so he would like a little bit more attention. Bryan took that as a challenge, and he was still a bit upset that he had lost to him last week, and Cesaro just went, "Nope, I don't want to do that. I ain't going to repeat the past, but hey, if there's anybody else that entered themselves in the Royal Rumble and they want to have a fight, well, I'll wait here, and then we can have some scrappy fists." This is when we had Dolph Ziggler, of all people, came out, and he too said that he was going to win the Royal Rumble. I just want to say, sometimes it would be nice if we made tag team champions and then focused on the tag team championship belts, but whatever. His main point here was that who shall challenge Cesaro? And then we had Dolph Ziggler versus Cesaro. I mean, do you really think that's bad? Of course it is not. I would like to know who the hell spiked Vince McMahon's tea, because all of a sudden the Swiss Superman is being pushed, and he hasn't been pushed for around about 32 years. And then, yeah, like I say, it just went 100 miles per hour. It was a brilliant back and forth, and it finished when Dolph, I think, was going for a Hurricane Rana, but Cesaro stopped him using the strength of 84 men, hit him with the neutralizer. 1, 2, 3. We used to have a thing here on Ups and Downs called the Cesaro stock meter, and it would always plummet down, never went anywhere. Right now it'd be through the roof. So I hope you bought some shares. We also need to discuss the fact that even though Dolph Ziggler right now is obviously older than he ever has been, he still moves like he did 10 years ago, so he is officially the definition of 2 + 2 = potato. And when we get to Cesaro as well, I don't think he's going to win the Royal Rumble, but there's that key word. I've now transitioned into only thinking that. I'm not sure, so this was a job well done. It was then time for Carmella's butler, whatever the hell we're calling him, Reginald, to take on Sasha Banks. And obviously the internet was going crazy, like, oh my gosh, an intergender match in WWE. But this was the dude they hired that used to do Cirque du Soleil, and my word, can that boy move his ass up. Because he tried to roll and flip and dive his way out of trouble, and he was so proud of himself every time he was able to avoid Sasha, he put this smirk on his face and kind of did this little bit of a jig. And within around about 3.2 seconds, I was like, well, what do you know? You turned the corner, I now think Reggie is the greatest person ever. He didn't really get any proper offense in here. He's actually just trying to wind up Sasha Banks, which was a really bad idea, because eventually she did smash him with some meteoras and then reversed this crazy flippy thing into the bank statement, and he had to tap out. This was really fun. Carmella was at ringside for all of this drinking champagne, so of course at one point Sasha just smashed that out of her hand. And while I still don't really know why she gets to be the #1 contender after she lost at TLC, whatever, man, it gave me this. This was an enjoyable little ride. It's kind of been all right. Poor Paul Heyman too, because he is now finally realizing, even though he thinks Roman Reigns is his friend, Roman Reigns doesn't have any friends, because deep down in his brain, he's just a crazy person. He also has very high standards, because Paul here was all like, oh man, this plan is so good. Roman, you're the best. I love you so much. And Roman was like, there is no plan, Paul. You are my instigator man, and you need to stand up for yourself, otherwise it's disrespectful to my family. In other words, insinuating that he expects Paul Heyman to whip Adam Pearce's ass. Now, there is a twist here, but at this stage, I was just shaking my head like, we should have known. And then we're always so close, aren't we? We're always so close. It's like ordering a pizza, and then ding dong, you go to the door, and instead it's your ex-partner, and they just kick you right in the groin. Before we get to that point though, let's talk about the pizza. Big E versus Apollo Crews is get it up. These two just have great chemistry, and while we didn't make much of the Apollo Crews Roman Reigns conversation from the last episode of SmackDown, I'm hoping we do return to that. Also at one point, Apollo just ran at Big E and he turned it into this Uranagi. It looked fabu. Apollo was also moonsaulting off the apron at one point, and that's more beautiful than anything I've ever seen in my entire life. But then of course, Sami Zayn, who had handcuffed himself to the barricade, unhandcuffed himself, he got in the ring, and he just beat everyone up, meaning it ended in a DQ. Actually, maybe it didn't even end in a DQ, because even though he attacked Apollo Crews first, the referee kind of just ruled the whole thing off. It's very weird. And now look, all of these guys are involved in a feud, and it's a very good feud, so it does make sense, but I'm just so tired of all the same finishes over and over again, especially because bring down the board, it's the DQ board, and we're up to number 5, so everything is just stacking up. When that does happen, we've already established it before, we'll establish it again now, it's got to get it down. Big E is the greatest though. I want everybody to know that. He is the greatest, and somebody should just give him a medal. Michael Cole and Corey Graves were then trying to tell us that neither Roman Reigns or Kevin Owens are going to be present for the main event. And I was like, yeah, right, look, I've already been screwed over once by Cyberpunk 2077 in 2021. I am not going to let it happen again, so I put on my I know that Roman Reigns is going to be here hat, and I'm glad that I did. We did have a cool promo by Owens after this though. He was in his car because nobody would let him in the building, and he just let us know that he fights for his family, he fights for his kids, he fights for him, and at the Royal Rumble, he's gonna be the last man standing. And while every ounce of my being wants that desperately, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Because seriously, right, if Roman Reigns does go down, he'll probably rip his own arm off and use that as a crutch to push himself back up, just because he doesn't want to be down on his ass. Wouldn't put it past him. Right, so, okay, apparently Sonya Deville is now Adam Pearce's assistant or second in command. Now, look, I understand I watch a lot of wrestling, so maybe I missed it, but when the hell did that happen? Like earlier in the show, Billie Kay said that, and I was like, I must have misunderstood. But then Dolph Ziggler and the Street Profits were here, and they absolutely confirmed it. And I know that she was hanging around Adam last week, but I don't remember that ever being part of the story. I was so absolutely baffled. And you can't just do that, even though I think it's a great position for Sonya Deville. All you had to do was have one bit where Adam was like, man, I'm so worn out, I'm so down, I need some help. And Sonya goes, hey, I'll do it. And he goes, oh, that's so great. And then they hug. Therefore down. However, I do think it's going to work out very well in the long run. Just plug the holes, man. Plug the holes. She also kind of ran down Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins here, because even though they had brought her a delicious fruit basket to say well done on your new job, she wouldn't give them a tag team title rematch because Montez is still injured. And then the burn came when she went, why don't you just keep doing your silly funny segments backstage? And these two did not look pleased. I am not surprised. We then had some nonsense with an obstacle course, Bianca Belair and Bayley. But as you know, if you can get nonsense right, you will always have a friend in me. It is getting it up. I mean, this was just classic dumb stuff. Bayley did the obstacle course first, and not only was the easiest thing you've ever seen in your life, but she basically cheated. And when she had to do this like fireman's carry challenge, she picked up Chad Gable and struggled with that as if he weighed around about 746 pounds. But then when it was time for Bianca to do it, all of a sudden the obstacle course was twice as hard. She had to carry Otis of all things. And even then, she absolutely smoked this. Like, you could even look at Bianca Belair and just go, well, that's a super athlete. If you said find a way to fly to the moon, she'd probably figure it out. Now, I have no idea why Otis and Chad Gable agreed to all of this. Surely Otis was aware that Bianca Belair was being screwed over, but it was very funny. And given that Bayley lost as soon as she could attack Bianca, she did. And there was even a basketball net here, and she just hurled it at the EST. I thought all of this was not only really entertaining, sports entertaining, but it built the feud so well, and it makes me want to see Bianca Belair eventually kick Bayley's ass. I am giving it a round of applause, which, as we always say, means absolutely nothing. Also, the way that Bianca just ran through that damn thing, unreal. Was there Baron Corbin versus Dominic Mysterio, and we must have done something right with this, because when I heard it, I got all excited. And there was a skit backstage between dad and son, with dad saying, look son, this time you can do it your way, but if you get it wrong, I'm gonna whip your ass and you'll be grounded for a week. It's not what he said, but he said, if you do fail, next time you gotta listen to me, daddy. And the best thing about all of this is that Corbin is such a good bad guy that you can hate him, but Dominic is such a good guy that you can like him. And I always enjoy it when those wrestling tropes become real. You have good, you have bad, you have the hero, you have versus the villain. That's never gonna get old. Mysterio also went flying at Corbin here, and just for a split second you thought, oh my gosh, maybe he does have a plan, but then he went for the 619 and his inexperience showed through. Baron absolutely wrecked him with a punch and then gave him the end of days. Honestly, this one didn't go more than a few minutes, but it served the purpose well, and now we can see what's going to happen next week with Dominic and Rey. What is Rey's plan? Probably rip his eye out. We'll find out. What I like to think is that as soon as it did go down, Rey Mysterio was like, man, my son sucks. I don't mean in terms of wrestler, but in terms of his fictional win-loss record. It was then Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. And let's just rewind that for just 1 second. It was then Adam Pearce versus Paul Heyman. Yep, that's what I said, and amazingly 2-up. SmackDown just knows how to end its shows. Because Heyman, being the veteran fighter that he was wrapping his wrists as he did walk to the ring, but then unfortunately he tripped over and all of a sudden he was in a lot of pain. And that's when my brain realized what was going on and Paul shouted out, "Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to carry on." But as you know, Mr. Pearce, card subject to change. Before you could say, "Oh crap, somebody call the cops," out came Roman Reigns. Like, I knew it, Cyberpunk, I absolutely knew it. And he proceeded to beat Adam Pearce up so badly, I thought maybe I need to get on a plane, fly out to Florida and try and help him, because no one else seemed like they could be bothered. I mean, it was a massacre. Reigns went right after the testicles, which is his favorite area, and then he was just throwing Pearce around the ring. He threw him into the boards around the ring. I was honestly worried that he was just going to rip his head off and then hold it like he's in Game of Thrones. Just as I thought my fear was going to go through the roof though, all of a sudden this dude in the hoodie ran out and he was beating up Roman Reigns. I was like, oh no, someone's mugging Roman. But thankfully, as it turned out, it was Kevin Owens, and he was here for some sick revenge, including not only giving him a stunner, but pop-up powerbombing through the announce table, meaning when SmackDown did finish, Kevin Owens was standing tall like, haha, look, he's down for 10, which would have meant at the Royal Rumble, I just won the match. It wasn't standing like this. Now look, is this the kind of thing that you would expect from this kind of feud? Yes. But did everybody execute it brilliantly? Yes. And is everyone just playing their roles so well? Yes. And does it make me want to see not only the pay-per-view, but what's going to happen on next week's show? You already know what I'm going to see. Yes. Just on the down low, sometimes I can't believe that Raw and SmackDown are being developed by the same people. So I don't even care, man. I don't even care. SmackDown is just rocking and rolling right now, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for crazy, crazy Roman Reigns. And therefore, is get it up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and tell us what you thought about last night's episode of SmackDown. Don't say anything bad about Roman, you know why. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com. You can read yourself some articles, watch some more videos here on YouTube. And hey, if you've got social media, go find us, give us a follow. My name is Simon for WhatCulture. Thank you very much for watching me as always. I'll see you on the next one.